Like, of course, you ignore any and all crimes against a person, blow them off, treat them like shit. Is the fact that you didn't get what you wanted 20 years ago is an excuse? Hell, there ain't no end to it, is there? If the victim doesn't do what you want, you just slander their name, no problem. Just say it like it's true. Really? Well, that right there is a very unchristlike thing to do. So this feller comes in today with this older lady who looks like a gentleman who's cross-dressing. Turns out it's actually a real woman. A real woman. Not a man taking hormone shots and wearing a wig. An actual woman. So although I was wrong about the person's gender, does it matter? No, it don't matter. Who cares what gender they are? Well, that comes down to your personal beliefs. Oh, disconnected. If you've ever been sexually assaulted by a crossdresser, you're probably going to think twice about voting to have crossdressers allowed in, well, a male or female restroom. You don't want sexual predators, but not everybody who crossdresses is a sexual predator. Anyway, this feller was in there talking to her, and he's a lazy POS. Oh, by the way, I also was warned that the 4 racists that were here earlier, that are here every day, I was informed they're all former law enforcement, so I should watch my mouth. No, I won't. If you want to be openly racist in public, I will be openly non-racist in public. I will be hopelessly anti-racist in public and in earshot of you because you are going out of your way to do this shit in earshot of me. Yes, it makes me feel uncomfortable to sit in a Starbucks anywhere and listen to racism. Whether you are a former police officer or not, I don't give 2 shits. That's the difference between me and most of you. Alright, let's get back to the guy talking to the old lady. So, he wants to go out in public and talk about his family's mental issues. And literally just talks crap about his son who is mentally ill. The boy's depressed. Well, being how his dad is, it makes perfect sense. I would be too. His dad uses crutches because he's injured. And he rides a little cart here around the store. He also, basically, anything that you can do to dismiss somebody who has a disability, he did. Well, that guy's not even here to defend himself. Numbers, so I wasn't sure if I should pick it up or not. Thank goodness it wasn't somebody to threaten to kill me again. Alright, where was I at? Oh yeah. So this feller who, of course, didn't have nothing nice to say. That's one of the things that people get in their heads. Is if somebody else has a mental illness, then you must be right. Well, it turns out this guy, after talking all that crap, has mental illnesses of his own. The lady asked him if he was going to see a therapist. He said he hasn't found one that's the right fit. I can understand that. I wonder if he makes a connection about his son probably being the same. When your dad always just assumes the worst in you because you must be retarded, apparently, because you're depressed, there's probably a reason you're depressed. And it probably has something to do with your immediate environment. Generally is. If you're being assaulted by your dad, or you don't even have to be being assaulted, but no matter what you say, you're just going to talk over you like you're an idiot who doesn't know what's going on. Anytime you try to speak up for yourself, he wants to throw the mentally ill thing in your face, like, hey dad, you're mentally ill too. That was always my mom's excuse when she'd do something screwed up. You're mentally ill. You're mentally ill. We can both play this game. Fire away. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying. Absolutely. You tell me if you think that's right or wrong. There's multiple people who have assaulted me in this town. Mostly because the cops are stupid. By saying they're stupid, well, that has to do with our rights as human beings. These officers would not like to have their rights violated in such a way. None of you would want your rights violated in such a way. Now, there's a lot of people who seem to think that victimizing an at-risk adult over the term mentally ill, and that's what you've done when you've called them mentally ill, is you've put them at risk. You have made them a target. If somebody is schizophrenic, they're schizophrenic, not mentally ill. If someone is depressed, they're depressed, not mentally ill. If somebody has delusions, they have delusions, not mental illness. Does this not register to you? Then we got all these old folks that want to talk about how lazy these youngins are. These youngins have to work an average of 3 full-time jobs to keep a goddamn roof over their head, you old fucking racist asswipe. Back when you joined the workforce in 1956, you were able to raise 6 kids and a wife on that. And still have extra to put aside for your kids to go to college. Now, entry-level jobs that are supposed to be for kids, right? You can't even get that job as a kid anymore. You got to be 18. Meanwhile, they're not going to hire an 18-year-old, not when there's a 65-year-old retiree that needs the money. Why? Because they're getting screwed. They got screwed out of their goddamn pension, just like you're gonna. You don't care about your pension because you don't think you're going to live that long. You're 20 years old and, well, you might think you're bulletproof, but you got it in your head you're going to die while you're still young. A lot of you got that going on. Then you hit 42 years old like me, or 38 or 36, whatever it happens to be. You realize that you didn't die as early as you thought you were gonna. Turns out you were smart enough not to get into the vehicle with the fucking idiots that ended up dead. You made intelligent decisions once in a great while, and that saved your life. Of course, you could have gone one step further and saved their lives too, couldn't you? Just by opening your mouth at the right moment. By going, I care more about your life than I care about what you think of me. You're going to hate me for the rest of my life because I stopped you from drinking and driving? You're going to hate me for the rest of my life because you and 4 other people, instead of being dead, are, what, one of you sitting in jail, the other 2 got picked up by your parents, 3rd one got away because his parents give a shit. But that guy in there, he's disabled. He's disabled. And what does he do with his time? He come down here and wanted to complain about his son who is depressed. Well, why is his son depressed? He wants to complain that he's not getting paid enough from the government, but then he wants to talk about his son expects a bunch of free shit from the government. Are you not seeing what a goddamn hypocrite you're being? I'm a hypocrite, for certain. You refuse to hear me. You tell me that the things that people have done to me are not illegal. Then I do them. Holy shit. Turns out it is illegal. Hell, for me, talking about how wrong it is to kill people is apparently illegal. Apparently, talking about how wrong it is to kill people is apparently a threat against people's lives. Or quoting from the Bible is apparently threatening people's lives. Threatening Christians' lives, apparently. Is that the reality of the situation? Only if you live in America. Here, the American language is apparently interpretive dance. The interpretive dance version of the English language. We'll just reinterpret everything that you say to mean something else. If that doesn't work, we'll outright change your words completely to make you guilty. That doesn't make somebody guilty. That makes you corrupt. Which we already knew nationwide, but we've got so many victims that want to only talk about themselves. Many of these people who got a hold of me, because in their spare time, they are entertained by death. They're entertained by it. These people who don't have any time, apparently. Don't have the time, for whatever excuse that they have. Well, they sure as shit had the time to fucking get a hold of me and harass me to begin with, didn't they? They cared enough to get involved. Well, sort of. They're not getting involved in anything useful. They're getting involved in just snooping, sticking their nose in somebody else's business. They don't care about that person. Look how many people on here wanted to play like they were too retarded to know what speaking out is. Meanwhile, they want other people to speak out for them. So obviously, yeah, they know what speaking out is. Then they want to make it about them. Always about them. Them. The help they want to give. They will talk over what you are telling them. You are telling them about your abuse. They're not hearing a word you're saying because they're wanting to push this, hey, let's get this fake account put up. Jesus fuck, why are you going to keep pushing that? Why aren't you hearing me? It's a matter of respect. Obviously. You feel you are owed respect. Why is it primarily women who do this? Primarily, it is females who do this. And then, of course, when they obviously don't give two shits about me, aren't going to lift a goddamn finger to help me, but they want me to feel sorry for them. They want me to feel bad for them when they do something screwed up. No. You shouldn't have pretended to care if you didn't care. If it was just entertainment to you, you should have left me the fuck alone. And that is the problem. People don't leave me alone. They also don't help me the way that I need. Your assumptions are trumped by evidence. Since the evidence shows something different than your assumptions, maybe you should stop pretending like if you just keep pushing it, it'll magically make it true. No, the evidence shows otherwise, stupid. That's when you go to try to turn it in, you're threatened, harassed, or intimidated, and then they pretend like they didn't do nothing wrong. There's a whole bunch of people want to talk about their Jesus and their God and give it to God and blah, 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 blah. I see things in the world that I live in that change. They change when people take an active role in changing it. When you talk in general about how wrong it is to treat mentally ill people the way that mentally ill people are treated, you are not helping any actual victims. If Albert Buren is abused and he has depression, and that depression is used as an excuse to pretend that he's schizophrenic, you need to speak up for Albert. In specific for Albert. A lot of people that reached out to me turned out that they had a bunch of court stuff of their own going on. So you do. There's a bunch of these people that they post up about the Kardashians all day long, and Johnny Depp all day long, Jada Pinkett Smith all day long. And then they say they don't know what speaking up is. They say they don't have time. Well, they've made time to do plenty. You just aren't a priority to them. You don't matter to them. So you should be allowed to ask them to go away without them throwing a tantrum. But you get to see Stephanie Larkin. The more she does this, the more I speak out. And you get to see how just like every other woman in America, she's been taught to jump to the, you must be a pedophile, you must be a rapist, you must be a this, you must be a that. Is it really that complicated to go away? When I was in Virginia, it was a situation where my safety was a major concern of mine, but nobody else's. I left Virginia. I drove 1,700 miles away from Virginia. Yeah. 1,700 miles. That's a lot of miles to get away from somebody. That's also a lot of miles for somebody to waste the energy of slandering your name to guarantee that when you get to your home, you're going to be abused even more. For a woman, she is not going to be held responsible in the United States for doing these things. Yes, it is illegal as fuck, especially when you target an at-risk adult. But who gives a shit? Unless your family or friends care, and mine obviously never did, you're screwed. So I speak out. A lot of these people wanted me to speak out for them. I wanted to play head games for a good long while before finally getting down to it. Sean, I want you to speak for me. I want you to tell people about my stuff. Okay, we can do that. Can you reciprocate that? Is that at all a possibility here, or are you just going to be selfish, self-centered, and one-sided? Because here's the thing. If you don't help to lift up my voice, mine isn't going to be heard. when I'm busy trying to lift up a whole bunch of people's voices because it's the right thing to do. But these people cannot reciprocate it. They're showing how incredibly selfish they are. Not my fault. Now, that guy in there who's mentally ill himself and physically disabled wanted to go in there and talk trash about his own family having a mental illness and being disabled. And of course, talking shit the whole way. Meanwhile, small town, and he's speaking very openly and very loudly in the middle of Starbucks. Now, I've been told that speaking certain things in Starbucks is inappropriate. I've also noticed that it really depends on who you are. Those women who came in one day and sat next to me and literally 2 to 3 hours of sexism, blaming everything on men. It's all men's fault, men's fault, men's fault, men's fault, men's fault, men's fault. I'm like, holy shit, do any of these people take any responsibility for their actions or their own decisions? We have taught women in the United States that they don't have to. Just blame men. You didn't get what you wanted, it's men's fault. Your paycheck from that man who you was freeloading off of, well, he got sick of your crap and he cut you off. And now he's a horrible person? Now he's, what did that lady call her boyfriend? Claimed that he was into little boys and that he had girls' underwear and fucking a bunch of other crazy shit. Because he was done with her shit. She thought it was okay to fucking be a crackpot and fuck his life up. And he said, I'm done with this shit. So then she starts slandering him, claiming he must be a pedophile who's into boys. 2 weeks later, she's whining and complaining that she wants him back, and he gets a hold of me and he says, hey man, thank you for looking out. You're welcome. I'm sorry that when you break up with a woman in the United States, that the acceptable thing to do is for a woman to slander your name and pretend like you're a pedophile or a rapist or some shit like that. Almost a dozen of the women who got a hold of me to pretend like they wanted to be my friend did this to other men and then did it to me when I said, I don't want you to be any part of my life. You are doing nothing good for anyone. It's time for you to leave. It's a matter of safety. Now, of course, you know me. I speak up. As far as being stuck in public, this isn't anywhere that I wanted to be stuck. But when you've got a bunch of people who don't actually care about you, it's all about them. All about telling you how to think and how to feel because of the term mentally ill. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to use that as an excuse to ignore the victim of violent crimes. It's not acceptable for you to go after the most at-risk people in the country and then pretend that they chose it. That's what the man earlier did. He wanted to claim that his son chose to be mentally ill and said it's not like he's got cancer. People don't choose to get cancer. What, you think people choose depression? You think people choose abuse? You think they choose to be blown off, that they deserve to be blown off because of the term mentally ill? 80% of Americans have at least one diagnosis from the DSM-5. That one diagnosis allows you to be treated like an animal if your friends and family don't care. First thing you're supposed to do as an at-risk adult when you're abused is to go to a friend or family member immediately and try to turn it in with them right away. And it seems to me everybody misses that part. Kind of like they can't understand what listen means. Listen, that means stop talking and use your ears instead of your mouth. A lot of you want to switch roles on. Like you call me up and then you want to do the victim role. It's all about you. You are the victim in the situation, not me, and therefore I have to listen to you. No, you're not the victim. When you say you're going to help the victim of a violent crime, there's a very, very specific set of rules to follow, a very specific set of protocols. And if you don't follow those protocols, the victim falls through the cracks and the abuse continues. And the longer you allow it to go on, rather than help them to turn it in right away, the more harm is coming to the victim, and that's not acceptable. You expect everybody to understand your disabilities, but you think that your son has a choice in it. Well, maybe he does. Maybe he don't make enough to move out of your house. Maybe he hates living with you. Maybe he's trying to save up his money so that he can leave. If that guy was my dad, that's what I'd do. A lot of people like to tell me about how I deserve this because they had a job when they were 15. Well, congratulations, so did I. When I was 15, although you got to spend your money from your first job on getting your first car and your mommy and daddy paid for half the insurance, my first job went into making what's called food, put in the refrigerator for me and my little brother and my little sister. The problem is, all these folks who reached out to me wanted to claim that they cared about me. None of them helped me to turn in the crimes against me. And many of them later on wanted to, of course, do horrible things, not understand. Like, when I set boundaries, maybe you should listen. When I tell you to go away, you should probably go away. Harassing me and calling me a pedophile is not going to get me to go away. That's only going to get me to speak up louder, much louder. Now this lady, Stephanie Larkin, she's one of those nut jobs I've had to deal with. Not something I wanted to do. I would have liked an actual decent person. A decent person to have taken part in this. All right. Well, now we got another lady who's being very angry. Her name is Stephanie Denise. And she typed to me, now this was after, when did she first start sending stuff to me? Looks like June 18th of 2018. She's one of these people that sent me a friend request when Natalie died. Lives in Hamilton, New Jersey. It says you're friends on Facebook. This lady wanted to say how she thought it was sick how I was being treated, but she didn't speak up about it. Now here we've got several years of her not doing anything at all, going out of her way to misunderstand everything. And then, of course, even more. Oh, she's typed something about sending love from New Jersey. And then, of course, today it's, look, if you unblock me, my son was just murdered 3 weeks ago. IDGAF about anybody but him at this point. Don't even know how I became you effing friend anyway. Do I believe her son was murdered 3 weeks ago? No, I don't. No, I don't. And of course, how did we become friends anyway? She's one of those people who sent me a friend request and wanted to, well, obviously not actually be a friend. Like many of these people, it was a passing fad, and it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with themselves and their own curiosity and their need to stick their nose in other people's business. But not to help, to be snoopy, to be shady, to be underhanded. Cute. Anyway, this Stephanie Denise lady, she asked me to block her, so I will be blocking her. I suppose I should probably show that it still says that we are friends. Huh. Now, you guys know how I feel about being honest. Looks to me like her son did die. Looks to me like her son was killed by the Mack brothers from Hamilton and Trenton, charged with murder, burglary, and multiple weapons offenses. Well, now this lady has an understanding of how I feel. Am I wrong for what I typed to her? No. What did I type to her? I typed to her, you don't care who hurts me. You need to leave my friends list. 6 years of assaults. None of you helped me to turn in the abuse. Well, I'm still going to do what she asked. But I'm not going to pretend like she was dishonest in this particular situation. Because she wasn't. Stephanie Denise. Here's what she typed to me. Here's what I typed to her. And here's what she typed to me. So you know that I'm telling the truth. And also, so that you know that she's telling the truth. These are the men who are accused of killing her son. They could be twins. She typed now rot in Hades. Now this is one of the people that, yeah, they are right there, dead. Isn't it sad? Or is it karma? Anyway, do I feel bad? I feel bad for her loss, but I don't feel bad for the way that I feel. I don't feel bad for saying that she didn't care what happened to me or who hurt me, because she didn't. Now what do? We'll go to the friends thing. We're going to go to, well, I guess there's no option to block, so I guess we'll just unfriend her. She deserves it. Confirm. I'm not going to offer condolences. I didn't need condolences when Natalie was killed. I needed justice, and it was never served. Stephanie Denise, I hope she gets justice. All the way in Trenton, New Jersey. Even if you hate me, I do recommend sending her your love. You want to do your prayer thing? Well, this would probably be a good time to do it. You can't get justice for someone who's dead. They're dead. Justice is for the living. Anyway, she's starting to understand how I feel now. Starting to. Of course, she's lucky. She's not being accused of killing him. She doesn't have her guilt assumed. She's a minority, so somebody might listen. Might actually care.
Is it working? Testing.
Good to be ready. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.